very much for attending our talk on combining product thinking and Spotify's Backstage for building the NN IDP. I'm Flavia Naezer. I'm the product owner of the IDP, and with me today is Vijai Ramcharan, the principal engineer and the platform tech lead of the NN IDP. So, last year, autumn, our team, me and a bunch of engineers, a couple of staff engineers and principal engineers, got the assignment to build the NN IDP. We were, of course, excited for this product because we saw great improvement in engineering culture and engineering experience through this product. We were even transferred to the infrastructure department of our company for this. And what I show you here is the pier in Scheveningen. I think if you have visited Den Haag, you have seen this location. It's absolutely fantastic in summer, but I have said December 2023, and this is one of the first events I remember at our new department. It was an icy, cold December evening. The pier was chilly, the heater was on full blast, but the people inside gathered were extremely warm, welcoming, and super nice. Our new boss, he laid the vision of the new department where the word IDP featured a couple of times. So people gathered around there, were a little bit curious to see who are the people who are building this product, because we were just newbies into this very old department at NN. He talked about how infrastructure is going to look in a couple of years at NN, what is the strategy and how the IDP features into it. And when he gave this talk, he lended us a very warm welcome. He said, "Special welcome to the new IDP team." Everybody started to look. And he added, "They are a bit different." And I said, "Different? Wow. Maybe we are." Maybe he's not completely wrong in saying those words. We are a bit different. If you look at me and my team then, we have been building customer-facing products, startup-like innovation, but mostly in the zone of customer experience for a bigger part of our career. We have encountered infrastructure in our adventures, but had never been in infrastructure. And the people at infrastructure have been doing infrastructure their whole career. They have been building CI/CD tooling. They have been giving away cloud accounts and platform engineering for a big part of their career. Yeah, we were very, very different. And we saw it as an opportunity to bring something to the new department, but also to learn something from them. Little bit about us and my team. So, like I said, we have been building customer-facing products for a large part of our career. We joined NN 5 years ago and built propositions like bundles, a new way of insuring cars, Brickler, a new way of selling your house, and latest, the NN app with its new look and feel and a new tech stack. What was product thinking for us in all these products and many more we have built over the years are these things. It's customer obsession. I think AWS and Amazon coined a really good word for this, but it's starting with the voice of the customer. Capturing the needs of the customer, knowing where the pain points are, what do they want from the product. So that has been always our starting point in building any of these propositions. And then quickly deliver customer value. Customer value through prototypes, landing pages, fake doors, MVPs. You know the toolkit, lean startup, absolutely fantastic to deliver fast value. And repeat till you get a product that works, or repeat till you know that it doesn't work. But in any case, repeat. And this has been product thinking for us, and it is wonderful to work like that, because we have had, I think, the most creative times in our life building products like this. And every product, most of them are not with us today, but we have learned so much from building these kind of products. And because we have worked in a corporate, we have learned things like how to align with stakeholders. We have also learned how to slice backlogs, do roadmaps and OKRs. Because in a corporate setup, a startup-like product still needs these other aspects. So that's product thinking for us, majorly. And then there is this product, the IDP. What is an IDP? I think this is one of the very first pictures we drew because we found it a very unfortunate acronym. It stood both for Internal Developer Portal and an Internal Developer Platform, whereas there is huge difference between those two terms, and we actually wanted to get another term across, the engineering experience. So I think this model helped us to visualize how they're different, to talk about the difference, and also helped us as a team to understand our purpose and mission. So we positioned the portal, which we very dearly called Zelda, as the front stage of the whole platform, whereas the platform is all the teams we had in infrastructure, doing CI/CD, doing cloud, doing security, doing identity and access management, to integrate with them and to offer an experience to our engineers so that they can do their best work. So this really helped us understand the IDP better for us and also to communicate. The reason NN, as I think most large companies wants to build an IDP, is to improve the engineering experience, is to reduce the cognitive load on engineering, and to standardize on tooling, on cloud, and technology. So 2 reasons, fantastic to have 2 reasons to build a product. So this is an IDP. But I also find it a very extraordinary product in its own sense. Everybody you need seems to be a team's call away. The users, the architects, the platform teams, the stakeholders, and heads of, and anybody, always willing to voice their opinion, spread their influence, and telling us what to do. It's a very complex product space because NN has a very complex technology landscape. You can think that the amount of stakeholders in this product is a very long list I stopped keeping track of. It's the amount of engineers we can serve are also that many. So I always think in personas, and so if you look at the list of personas possible for the IDP, always a very long list. Same goes for departments and all. Hugely complex product space, you can serve different personas, you can cater to different journeys and different needs. It's also a product which is there and positioned to, it feels like it's positioned to release some pent-up demand, where everybody voices out their frustration to us, wanted to know how we could solve their pet projects they have been dreaming for a couple of years now. Very interesting space to be in. I would call this product, if I look at today, as very popular, and yet very controversial at the same time. So we had to find a way as a team to operate in an environment where we were a bit different, and at the same time dealing with a very, very extraordinary product. And in this talk, this is where actually my talk begins, after the bit of context I gave you, we want to share with you 3 stories that have shaped our product thinking until now, how we have learned from our environment, the tools we have used, and hopefully our stories inspire some of you to engage with product thinking and maybe use it in your own work. The first story is on user research, the second is on UX design, and the third is on platform engineering. We'll go through them one by one. This is a statement from Casper. Casper is a staff engineer in our team who expressed this last year, where he said, designing a DevEx survey is hard. So like any other product, we approached the IDP by wanting to listen to the voice of the customer, in this case, the voice of the engineer. We came across this amazing white paper, which was published last year, on the 3 core dimensions of DevEx. I was very happy to read that developer happiness was part of the equation, and the software productivity was not only optimizing software, but how people did their work and their happiness mattered. So Perfect. All these papers and all this vibe and all the hype in the industry was telling us to do one thing. That was to conduct a DevEx survey. So we thought, let's do it. We even got management to approve a small pilot where we could ask our engineers some questions. We even got some survey questions online. They are not hard to find. And I think the more and more closer we were coming to the survey, that's when it really hit us. And Kasper, our teammate, voiced it out really well. Designing a DevEx survey is hard. This is where we realized we should look for a professional, somebody who is skilled at doing surveys and user research. And that's not us. After all, my team had a couple of engineers and no user researcher. That's where we start looking for a user researcher at the company, and we found her. We found Tanushri. Tanushri, in no time, put together a survey, had people participating in it. She even did deep dive interviews. She was willing to learn about engineering, so we coupled her with a couple of engineers in the team so that they could do the interviews together. And within no time, a couple of months even, we had the first insights coming in. And this is one of the most used slides in our company at this moment because it talks about the problems our engineers are asking us to solve. And these insights are a result of the pilot, which was conducted by a user researcher in an engineering team. And I think this is not breaking news to you. I mean, if you are in a largest company, I think they are very recognizable, that knowing how to get stuff done is hard. That's the number one problem our engineers are asking us to solve. We also quoted some engineers. My favorite among them is from Jaime, where he talks discovering knowledge at NN is like archaeology. I mean, it's some sentiment, but quoting a real person who works at the company makes so much impact when you bring this to the management. Because we are not just quoting anybody, we are quoting Jaime. Power of user research is really felt in these kind of things. We also captured some survey results where we learned that 66% spends too much time in meetings, and 40% is fed up answering queries from colleagues. These are, I think, familiar problems, but this was our starting point in approaching this product. And this starting point helped us to formulate our product challenge, because we build products, and we are a team which need a challenge when we set out to build a product. And we were looking for a challenge which matches the company strategy, but also incorporate user needs. So our product challenge, we formulated as 2 how might we questions. That's the acronym you see on the screen. And the first challenge is, how might we give our engineers an API paved road? Why API paved roads? Because I think that was the #1 strategy for NN at that time. We wanted to be an API-first company. So it made a lot of sense to make building APIs easier. So that's why that one. And the second one we learned from user research, make it easier for people to discover other themes and applications and software. So 2 how might we questions to start building the products. So story 1, it all began with designing a DevEx survey is hard. And what it brought us is our very first hire on user research. She's the only one at the infrastructure department with this profile. We even had to make a new profile for her. But the power of having a user researcher has been amazing in the team. She helped us capture the voice of the engineer and come to an evidence-driven backlog. An evidence-driven backlog makes me very happy as a product owner. And absolutely, I see somebody, it's very resonating for product owners. Let me go to story 2, and this is on UX design. This is a Dutch phrase, and I think the people who are Dutch-speaking will appreciate it, but I used this quote because I have heard it so many times in the last months. Flavia, je ziet het niet. Flavia, you don't get it, would be the translation in English for this. And everybody on platform was seeming to say this. So whether we have a lot of platform teams at NN doing CI/CD, cloud, identity, security, somehow this was the sentiment, this was the words they chose to use. Flavia, je ziet het niet. You don't get it. What am I not getting, I thought. And one thing I've learned building products is you should address the sentiment. And that's what I brought it back to my team. Told my team, we are not seeing something. What are we missing? And actually what we were missing is to give space for the work the platform teams were doing. They were not seeing themselves in the IDP journey because we were working for too long listening to our engineers and the voice of the customer, but we had forgotten the other side of the IDP. That's the platform. They were not finding themselves in the journey. They felt their work was not getting recognized, so they were not on board. And like I said, if I hear a statement again and again, that's something you have to address. And this is one of my favorite artifacts from design thinking. Service blueprinting came into space. Wonderful artifact to not only capture the customer journey, but also to capture implementation details. So at the top of this artifact, you see how the user interaction looks like. But when you go from top to bottom, you'll see who is implementing it, how is the service getting implemented, what are the policies, et cetera, et cetera. I have been, oh, sorry, one back. Let's see. One more. Oh, there you go. This is to give you an idea of the scale of this artifact. This artifact takes a lot of effort to make. We made it as a team together. It took us, I think, 6 weeks to make this 2-hour slots each. What you see here is the service blueprint of an API paved road. It's the number of steps it takes to put an API in production at NN. And what you see, the left to right is the number of steps, but top to bottom are the teams who are involved, which policies are involved, which decisions are getting made. And some people might have spotted some flags on it. Those are the steps which are not automated now. So those kind of things you'll see in the blueprint. Little bit zooming in. So like I said, it captures the customer journey, but also how it's implemented. And what this brought us is so much value because this became the foundation piece to collaborate with the platform teams. They helped us fill in the gaps because our team would never know how everything is implemented at a large company. This was an artifact which helped in co-creation to make decisions with product management because you saw a paved road with 150 steps. Helps tremendously in slicing the products, tremendously in aligning with stakeholders, decisions getting made, all those kind of things. The value of service blueprint has brought to us was totally worth the effort, and we plan to keep this living. So we plan to keep this artifact up to date with the working software. And we plan to make it for all complex customer journeys we have in the IDP. We started visualizing the service blueprint as product cards because we felt there's too much complexity in the blueprint itself, but how about giving the users and the platform the same significance and building a card like this, which not only shows the customer journey at the top, the platform product which are used to make the journey possible and the user outcome it realizes and the kind of time it saves. So a product card visualization to help communicate about what we are building, why are we doing this, and who is involved. And all these the toolbox I have been talking until now, from blueprints to how might we questions, are part of design thinking and a model called the double diamond, which is a mental model to help navigate products, where you start with discovering and defining the product from a product challenge to a vision, and then start building it. And now we are in the right diamond, as people would like to say in our department, which means we are doing sprints and we are building working software. But we have been long in the left diamond, almost 6 months, to come to a place where we know what to build and we know we can build it properly. So what story 2 brought us, Flavia, je ziet het niet, Flavia, you don't see it, is actually hiring a first UX designer. So every story is ending up with new hires, and I think that will continue. So our team is growing. It's growing with different skills, because we feel that these skills are needed to build a product, a customer-facing, a user experience product like an IDP. So we hired our first UX designer, Michiel, added him to the team. We make service blueprints to visualize customer journeys, and we have used the design thinking toolbox, which we loved and adored, also in this product, but in this product even more effectively to communicate and to collaborate with platform teams and to make the hidden unhidden. And for story 3, I would like to give the word over to Vijay, one of my favorite engineers.
Oh, thank you so much, Flavia. Cool. Thank you. I must say you said something like 20 minutes ago, and my head is still a bit stuck there. We're a bit different, you said. I think they were talking mainly about you. We can be pretty serious, so I don't know. I want to talk about Backstage. This is good. Yeah, I hope this is corporate speak. No, I'm not really going to do this clickbait title. At least my son and I had lots of fun taking this picture. I have now 20 versions of me going like this. But fine, I'm here to talk about this story. It's again Casper. I've known Casper for a long time. We've been working together for a long time. And I want to talk indeed about NN in a world before platform engineering. I will talk about Backstage, how we use it to build our IDP, how that fits in platform engineering. And like I said, and also Flavia mentioned, the use case, API first use case, that's the one we're centered around. So to make things very simple, getting an API in production. And I call this the Casper story, and this happened actually in 2020. So Casper and I got the assignment to build an API, and it was because there was this Dutch insurtech that wanted to sell our insurances, which is nice, and they wanted to use their own website. So we thought, okay, good, we need an API. And then Casper and I got to work on it. We were pretty new in the company then. We had already validated the tech stack that was okay to use in NN. So we were going to use AWS serverless, TypeScript, Node.js. That was all fine. And Casper had been doing this for 10 years, and he had built all these APIs, so we thought we were good. Now, and we could see the light at the end, right? So we thought, that's where we want to go, and we could see this nice corridor leading up to it. And so we would go there, and then somebody would say, wait a second, this is a VIP entrance, it's for emergency use only. Entry is over there, and then we were pointed to the corporate maze. This is the discovering knowledge is like, feels like archaeology story. Because what would happen is that Casper would have a question. So something like, hey, I want to use AWS API Gateway for exposing this API, is that okay? And then an architect would pop up and he would say, no, that's not good. We're using WSO2. That's the group standard, you will have to use that. Okay, that's good, we can do that. And he would say, yeah, there is this team that has done this before, so just go out and ask them and they will help you. And then Casper would go to that team, he would explain what he needed, and they would say, yeah, we did something similar, but not quite. So go and talk to this and this person, and they can help you. And this would happen over and over and over and over again. But in the end, Casper managed to collect all of the information and get this API in production. It took him 6 months. Good, happy days, we at least got it done. Everybody was happy. But yeah, it was not that easy. So Casper was keeping notes while he was doing this, and we figured out in the end that he did not talk to 5 people, not to 10, he talked to 62 people to get the information needed to get an API in production. Now that's a small-sized company right there that you have to go out and find. And then, by estimate, this took him 3 months of his time, purely wasted to figure out how to do, and then the other 3 months was really getting this API in production. And I remember back then finding this blog post from Spotify, well known for their engineering culture. And I really loved the term they coined here, rumor-driven development. And it really captured so much of the struggles we were running into, and they were describing in the blog post exactly how they had the same challenges. So like you were saying, Flavia, it's not unique to NN. It's about corporate companies, so companies of a certain size, but also tech companies, scale-ups. They run into this situations, these challenges. And also, they pointed us to the first solution that we started implementing. We wrote down a golden path, we collected all the information, and we published this manual of getting an API in production for everybody in the company to read. And yes, it was a big manual, more than 100 steps, but at least the unknown unknowns are now gone. But we want to do better. We're building an IDP, right? So we get a chance now to do something even better. Because not only in our company, lots of things change. Our management, they started seeing and believing and supporting us to build all of this. A lot of stuff happened in the industry in the last 4 years. In Gartner's Hype Cycle, the latest one for software engineering, I was actually surprised. I would have thought the top 3 would have been AI, AI, and AI, right? 3 times AI at least, because everything is about AI. But the number 3 was captured by something else, platform engineering. And I will talk a little bit later about what platform engineering is. But for now, keep in mind, if you're building an internal developer platform to help your engineers, that's what platform engineering is about. What I want to do also share a little bit about the journey and talk about some recipes that we have uncovered that have been helping us. And maybe there's something in here, if you're also on a similar journey, you recognize that might also help you. One of the first things we did is define our principles. And it's not about these principles for you, right? You have to do this exercise for yourself and find out what works in your company, in your context. But I do want to highlight one on the top left, the thin platform, because I think that's a very important one. It's one I've been using a lot in my vocabulary with my teams and the stakeholders, and it's one that just makes sense when you're doing these things. And in essence, what it means is you're not reinventing the wheel. You're building a platform and you build it on top of base platforms, on top of what your cloud vendors are offering, on top of open source systems. And that's how you start thin, and you only add the things that you need to solve certain problems that make sense in your company. So that's a thin platform. And also, we made the decision to something named floating platform, that we will invest time when one of these base platforms is adding new functionality, and maybe we had built it in our little thin platform, we will actually go in, put in the money and effort, and take it out again to keep it thin. Otherwise, it will still keep growing. And this comes from a wonderful new book, Platform Strategy, by an even more wonderful guy, Gregor Hope. I would imagine most of you know him. If you don't, find him on the internet. YouTube has lots of talks, super interesting guy. And I want to show one of the pictures from this book. I really love this one. I want to print it in a really big picture and hang it in our screens. On the left, there is what platform teams promised, and you see these paved roads. You go from A to B, and there's these tiny guardrails that help you in case of severe accidents, right? And then on the right, what might happen if you are not taking the customers and you're not customer obsessed if you're not dealing with that. I really love this one. Second recipe is also about hiring, like you said, Flavia. So we hired a UX designer, a UX researcher. And why did I put this up here? Because there is a bit of a, maybe even a paradigm shift here. So usually when you think of platform engineering or a platform engineer, you think about an engineer that's solving these hard technology problems. But actually, we're building a thin platform. And the hard technology problems have been solved by your vendors, by the open source community. And the biggest value that you add is the experience and the integrations. Now, experience and integrations, that is really the work of full-stack DevOps teams. And that is something that doesn't automatically or intuitively come to you. So that's why I really wanted to put this on the screen. Also, what we've been very careful in our naming. When we were looking for engineers, we are really looking for people with DevOps skills, full stack skills, but still with a learning a platform mindset in that you are building a product for your engineers. Well, then we did a tech assessment. There is lots of things happening. It's in the hype cycle, right? So the market is exploding with options, and we looked at a complete do-it-yourself. We looked at several portals. You have Port, you have Cortex, and so there's very nice options out there. For us, we ended with Backstage, and like their homepage says, Backstage is an open source framework for building developer portals. So you're not going to run Backstage, but think powered by Backstage, right? So we're building Zelda, and it is powered by Backstage. And for us, it was the right combination between the flexibility it would offer, but also the security, because we can host it in our own hardened systems. Also, the tech stack was a great fit with what we use in NN. It uses React, Node.js, TypeScript. It runs on Kubernetes, Postgres. That is the skill set that we're already dealing with, so no new things to learn. So that's also one of the reasons that weighed into this decision. So this is a very easy one, and you would also figure this out for your engineers when you're running Backstage. They have fantastic documentation, and you will go there and find a lot of information, but when you're dealing with some advanced scenarios, like Rick, you were telling me yesterday, even there was one. For instance, if you're dealing with authorization, we wanted, when we're creating Azure DevOps repos, we want the security to be super nicely tight, right? We didn't want to use personal access tokens. We wanted to use proper user-delegated access rights. And this was not supported in the base platform. Like I said, we add something on top, and we added this ourselves. But cloning the Backstage repo and reading the documentation really was helpful there. I want to talk about the system model a little bit, and I'm nearing, I have 7 recipes in total, so almost at the end of the recipes. At the heart of Backstage is the software catalog, and Flavia likes to call that thing an engineer-friendly place that talks about the software, what software is in your company and where it runs, but also who owns it. And Backstage has created this wonderful model that really is generic enough to fit in a lot of technology companies. And yes, is it going to be perfect? No. Is it going to be 100% matched with what you need? But we really embrace this Backstage system model. There's systems, there's components like APIs, and resources like buckets. But also, who owns it? The teams that are running them, and also the users in those teams. Now, interestingly enough, there is something missing in here, which would make a lot of sense in a lot of companies, because when we are developing software, and you're in a team, you're running the systems, you work in the context of an environment. So somewhere where you put the code for that project, but also the cloud accounts where you run it. And then also the stages, like the DTAP environments that are dealing with it. This is currently missing in Backstage, which is fine. You will have some missing features. This is the thin platform that we're adding. There is also in GitHub discussions on this, so more companies are interested in it. There's even an abandoned pull request, but so far there is no consensus on the direction and the final model. So we'll build this ourselves. We'll also, contribute to the open source and the discussions and see what happens. If something else comes out of Backstage and the community, we'll take this one out again. But for now, this is going to help us. The last recipe is this, a local first engineering data warehouse. So when we started, we called this a data puddle, by the way, when we were talking this in the team. And why? Because in our company, when you say data lake or data warehouse, somebody will come in and say, hey, here you go, here's our multi-million-dollar petabyte scale super system. You have a data use case, use it, please. And we were like, okay, but we only have like 3 million records or so, It's not big data, it's not tiny data, it's in the middle. We just need a very simple system. So that's why we called it a data puddle. And we have this very simple system. More formally now, I renamed it to a local first engineering data warehouse. The only cloud resource you need is an S3 bucket. That's where you put your JSON-L files or your CSV, later maybe Parquet files. And there is a data warehouse, which is just a simple SQL-like database. We're also thinking about DuckDB, and this is a very powerful system. We spiked with it, and we were able to take all kinds of information from all kinds of separate data sources and spike out, generating all kinds of YAML files that's needed for Backstage. So this we will pull out again once we're ready to scale up the use in our company, but for now, it's a very interesting approach. So back to platform engineering. So what is it? It's emerging, it's new, and these definitions, we are actually now creating them, and we're figuring out what it is. And here are two definitions from Gartner and ThoughtWorks, but there's lots of opinions on here, so we didn't find the consensus yet. There's also these kinds of statements that really show you that we're at the peak of inflated expectations right now in the hype cycle. Platform engineering is going to replace everything, it's going to solve every problem. This is what happens in this stage. Now, I think in reality, all of the goodness that we learned is not going away, right? In 2006, Werner Vogel said, you build it, you run it, and you have all the valuable lessons from these wonderful books. So I want to leave you with what I think platform engineering is really about. So yes, there is a solution bit on the right side of the double diamond, right? So you're going to build a developer platform. It's going to offer paved roads, templates, all kinds of things. But in essence, it's about building the right product, so the left side of the double diamond, that empowers the engineers in your streamlined teams, in your empowered product teams. That's what platform engineering is really about. So this is what I talked about. Platform engineering, it's new, it's exciting, an emerging field. How we are using Backstage to build an IDB, which is part of platform engineering. And we talked about some recipes. Now, what I want to close with is a prototype. So our designer created a prototype of an API paved road, so something that we dream up of what we want the future to look like. In 2020, Casper wasted 3 months, remember, in figuring out on how to do things. What we want for Casper, or any other engineer, of course, when they come back in 2025, we will say, hey, Casper, all we need is an API. Go to Zelda, please, and start working there. And then Casper can log into the system, and he can find this paved road sections, and he will find all the cards that we have. And he can read what he will get. There's an API on serverless. And then he can fill in the information on that he is the expert on. And then he can press next. And the system will know that he is in this certain team and that he works on this system. So it will pre-fill it. And also, it will know that the environment used, cloud accounts and source management, is this one. So Casper is happy. He reviews all of the information, and he presses create, and the system starts running, and the last ball is still running, and it's done. So if you see at the Flavia seated need, there was this iceberg with all of the things beneath the surface. Beneath the surface is now what we're aiming for, because a lot of things are happening there, and you get them for free. So this is where we started. We're wasting 3 months, but this is not where we want to end. We want this to go down to 3 minutes. And I was showing this to a colleague, and they were like, If an exec comes in, like an MT member, and they see this, they'll be like, hey, why are my engineers wasting 3 minutes? I don't like this. This is not good. What are you people doing? So we thought, okay, let's rephrase it a little bit. put it the other way around. This is, and round off a little bit, of course. This is about saving time. And this is one use case, right? Bringing APIs to production. We have many others that we identified, that Flavia talked about. Onboarding a new team, building a website, you name it. And also, this is the story of one engineer in one part of the company. So just imagine that if we can empower all the engineers throughout the entire group, that is what we are really aiming for. So Flavia, if I can invite you again, we would like to thank you for listening to our story.